Testing, testing. Okay, there we go. Hello. Anyone here? I'm a bit early today. Just thought I'd start a bit early just in case there's technical difficulties. And doing a simple sound check is always good. Let me do a quick test with the chat. If you're here, just say hi in the chat, just to let me know that someone's actually here, because I am starting a bit early today, so. I don't know. I don't know about that. I wasn't expecting a message like that. That was who knows? Maybe one day. One day they'll make knees and toes. You never know. There's a market for everything. Oh, it's covering the list of topics. So this is the list of topics we're going to go over today. Let me just move this over a bit. Okay. So it is a bit early. I thought I'd just go over some random stuff over the channel, and then we can start at 6:30 with the plant eater scene that that I've shown in the trailer. And hopefully I can go over this fast enough, the plant eater scene fast enough to go into ragdolls, and that will build up into the next stream, which will cover crowds, which I'm super excited for. It's so fun with that, especially with crowds. I should say KineFX plus crowds. Hi everyone. Hey, you made it. Cool. So if you guys have any questions, just shoot it up in the chat. It's nice to get your questions in early, and then I'll answer it when I see it. So I would check the chat every so often during the stream. So I'll just go over some random stuff over the channel. So the last stream, I talked about the footprint scene. But it was really rushed because it was at the end and I was like brain dead. I finally know my limit. So after an hour and a half of streaming, that's the limit. My brain turns to mush after that. So I'm thinking of redoing that footprint scene. I've actually came up with a new way of explaining it, as well a new application for that footprint. It can be used for destruction, like when you're the footprint scene was that the person was actually imprinting stuff on the ground. But imagine what we can do with destruction. You can dent things with that. So that's still in the in preparation. I'll go over that. Go back to the footprint scene again. Revisit it later with the more preparation and a better explanation. As for the module list, that was also covered in the last stream, but really gone over really quickly and not properly because it was like my brain was dead. Those were the last two topics I tried to cram in the last stream, but it was just too long. The modulus was used to loop animations. So the animations, the last stream was about KineFX and rigging, and some of the animations coming in was like the walk cycle would only contain 2 steps, and then it's your job to loop it constantly, so you could create a walk cycle. I used modulus to loop the animations, and I was trying to explain how modulus works mathematically. And when I was rewatching the last stream, I finally understood what I was doing wrong. It was like I kept on reversing the numbers when I was doing simple division because I was just so brain dead. So that's gonna come later in maybe like a tip video format or maybe something. I don't know. And I'll go back to it and explain it better. A small note. Oh yeah, and one more last thing about the last stream was that I had shown these 3D characters that were created from character creators. So those models I wasn't able to share those models. But after rewatching the last stream, I found out that Houdini actually has built-in characters that I should have used. I found out afterwards. So I should have used these ones. Let me just... Oops. I'm just going to click one of these. Simple bypass. I should use this robot, which is the one shown in the trailer. So this is already fully rigged, and I mean it's decent enough. It has all the parts and moving parts. I'm not sure if it's rigged for IK, but it works with the ragdolls. You have to set up the ragdoll collision layers and all that stuff, but other than that, it's a pretty nice built-in Houdini character. This I can like include as part of the HIP file, so this is nice. Yeah, this will be, you can, if you can't watch the whole stream, you can watch it a little later. So what I usually do is I go over the stream live, and that gives you the opportunity to ask questions live, and I can answer them as I see them in the chat. And then if you are part of the bubblepins membership, which is that YouTube membership thing, if you're Perk 1, you'll get all the HIP files. So I'll share that for the HIP files and the HTA files, and the tip videos are exclusive content for the Perk 1 bubblepins memberships. Perk 2 will get you like, I take the recorded live stream video and then I edit the video and I put my fancy blue highlights and all that stuff in, and that's like the high quality version of the stream video, and that's available for Perk 2 memberships. It also contains the bookmarks in the description, so you can go over and find whatever you need right away, so you don't, if you're ever referencing something, like if you're trying to find one particular section in the video, you don't have to watch the whole thing. There's like bookmarks in it, so that's available for Perk 2. That's only available for memberships because it takes a long time to set up and all that stuff, and the editing is horrendous. It takes days to like edit the video and all, so that's why it's only available for members. Yeah, the blue highlights are very helpful. Okay, let's see the time. We still have 10 minutes. I'm thinking of starting a bit early. Does anyone have any questions about anything? Like, it can be from the last video, it can be about anything. I can show you some of the stuff I've been planning, preparing up to for the next week on crowds, which I'm really excited about. Oops. Uh-oh. So, lost the chat window. Here we go. So this is the one of the test scenes that I was preparing for next week, or next week, the next stream basically. So this is a bunch of that rubber toy test geometry in Houdini. I rigged it up using KineFX and retargeted the animation, a jumping animation and a walk cycle animation, and then threw everything into a crowd solver. So this is what you get. It's avoiding these building obstacles, which is also made by one of the HDAs that I made, my procedural city HDA. Might as well just show that too. So about this procedural asset HDA. It's an asset that I made that allows you to create these buildings really easily, so you don't have to do it from scratch. So I use that as collision geometry so these guys could avoid, so I can do a test scene for the crowds. This is one of the earlier tests that I did. This is a crowd source without the solver. So it's just a bunch of rubber toys jumping, constantly jumping. Scattered at random areas by the crowd source. And this is me rigging it, retargeting the test scenes. So these were one of the earlier ones. So as you go down, that's like the earlier ones. As you go higher up, it's the test scenes from the latest test scenes that I've done. I usually post most of my test scenes on Twitter just because it's easy to upload videos. As opposed to Instagram, you need like a third party thing to upload videos on from your PC, which is a pain. Oh, MacBook Air 8 gigabytes for some task. MacBook. Like the MacBook Air. The MacBook Air, you are talking about Apple, right? An Apple laptop. Now, Apple makes really nice products. The problem is Apple products are very expensive. And if you look at the specs for the MacBook Air, it's actually like ridiculously expensive for the specs that they give you. If you have a lot of money and you don't really care, then sure, go ahead. But if you're on a budget and you want to get the best bang for your buck, I would try to avoid the MacBook Air because the Air is more expensive than the MacBook Pro. Like the MacBook Pro is pretty decent. I think it's like a lot of people use it for the webinars. When they bring it to a presentation, you'll see that a lot of them are using MacBook Airs. And it's pretty decent for simple things. But if you're using it for as a workstation, yeah, that may give you a lot of frustration for large simulations. Like the RAM itself, it's so expensive to upgrade the RAM. I mean, if you want to buy it out of the box from Apple, they give you like the configurations. I think 8 gigs, 16 gigs, or whatever. It's really expensive. I mean, there are other ways. You can always upgrade it yourself. I've done it myself. No. Okay. I'm not sure what you mean then. MB Air. Megabyte? Just for few tasks. Oh, just for few tasks. Yeah, I think just for simple tasks, it's really nice. The battery is awesome. Like Apple products are very, very nice products. It's just that the MacBook, like, if you ask me personally, I would rather get a MacBook Pro than a MacBook Air because the MacBook Air is more expensive and less powerful, but it's very light. So, I don't know. If you have a car, the weight of the laptop does not really matter. But if you're taking the bus all the time, maybe the weight of the laptop is like, it makes a load of a difference if you have to walk 2 streets down to catch the bus or something. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. You can also try the MacBook Mini. I mean, that is a very nice price Oh, I think the MacBook Mini is not as cheap as it was before because they upgraded it. It used to be $700. I don't know. $700 Canadian. I don't know how much US, but I think it's like $1,000 now, the MacBook Mini. So that kind of spoiled it. It used to be awesome because it was the most affordable one. Alright, I think I'll just get started with the plant eater thing because it's we're right at 6:30. Okay. So I'll be checking the chat every so often. If you have a question, just shoot it up in the chat. So the plant eater scene. Let me just delete this. So just so that we're clear, this is what we're making today. Maybe I can show a clip of what we're making. So that would be nice starting point. Let me here. Ooh, this is big. So this is what we're making today. Using KineFX rig to rig that mouth motion. I also used Mocap to rig this stem, this random motion stem, which I really like. This idea of the application of a mocap. It doesn't always have to be mocapping a human. We can remap these points and rig something else. Okay, but this is what we're looking at. This guy, this plant eater dude. So first, the geometry is super simple. Now I sculpted the head in ZBrush just because it's a lot faster for me to sculpt it in ZBrush, but literally you can do it in Houdini. Now I'm not going to go over how I sculpted the plant head. It's going to be something, I will show it to you, but it's not going to be, oh, I should save it first. Go in. Now, this is imported directly from ZBrush and I file cached it. Oops. There we go. Made it a little smaller because if you look at this, this is like, just gonna make this darker. If you look at this, this is spanning off like a meter. So every Houdini units are in meters. You'll see these numbers here, they're in meters in real life if you convert them. If you tried printing this out or something, this is like in meters. You had to convert it back to like centimeters if you want to print this in a reasonable size. But anyways, so this is like spanning like 2 by 2 meters because it's the 0 point is here. So this is 1 unit and this is -1 unit. So it's it's almost 2 by 2. And 2 by 2 by 2, I believe, for the height. So it's a little big. This, I find that it does make a bit of difference when I'm feeding this geometry to have a smaller geometry in the FEM simulation. It does optimize the performance a lot. But it just might be how I have the thing set up. So I'm just adding a fuse here just in case I have floating points because it was sculpted, so I may have floating points, random points all over the place. So just adding a fuse just in case, so it makes it a solid material, a solid geometry. So this is what we have to work with. I'm not going to render that. Yeah, let's start by rigging this. This is going to be... Now let's bring it over. Go back here. I'm just going to copy this. Here. There we go. Bring that geometry over. Call it plant head geometry. Now I'm going to remesh this. Okay, I'm just going to copy all this over. It's nothing special. Now I'm going to rig this fairly quickly, just because the rigging process was demonstrated in more thoroughly in the last live stream. So this process I'm going to quickly speed up. Okay, now we have this. Now all this is doing is just remeshing it so I have better topology to work with before I convert it into a tet mesh that will need. So FEM simulations need tet meshes, and what that does, it gives us like a more solid geometry, and I'll show you that in just a second. This is just giving me UVs, so I would have something to, if I wanted to throw on a texture later on, this would have something nice to throw onto it. Now let me throw on a skeleton. So I just want to show you that's the skeleton what we have for rigging. Gonna make this. Okay, there we go. That's a bit better. So there's our skeleton right there. Now I'm not gonna name these points as what I did for the skeleton. Usually in the last week I did this and I named it. I'm not gonna do that for this time because this is a very simple rig. It literally is just like moving the mouth, opening the mouth and closing it. So there's no need for a name, naming the points. Skeleton here. Now let's do the bone capture lines. Now we're going to turn this into a tet mesh. So I'm doing tet conform. Now we're going to take our original geometry, which is this guy. Just let it cook for 2 seconds. Okay. And we're going to take our skeleton with the bone capture data and feed it into the second input. This will allow the tet mesh to properly tessellate it in the correct format. So I'll show you what it looks like after you apply the tet mesh. Let me do a clip. So as you can see, this is a solid geometry now. As we're clipping this right here, we can see it like there's stuff inside. As opposed to clipping this here. This is a hollow geometry. So this is the power of using converting it into a tet mesh. Just gotta check the chat for a second. Okay. Oops. Oh, I gotta stop doing that. Okay. Ah, that's my secret. Oh, thank you everyone for watching. Sold my MBS for $39.50, but I miss portability. Yeah, that is a downside. Power or portability. Oh, thank you everyone for watching. What you can do if you really want portability, you can, if you're willing to fork out the dough, if you want portability plus the power, you can get one of those, what is it called? I think Blazer laptops. I believe they have both portability and power. As in like computing power. They throw in a NVIDIA card. There's like an RTX card inside, but it's really expensive. So you have to, if you really want portability and power in the same machine, you're going to have to pay for it. Okay, so let's go back to this. Tet mesh. Right. That makes it into a tet mesh. Just gonna throw in this. Now I'm gonna throw in the bone harmonic capture. So what this does is converts our skeleton. So if you look over here, we have these bone captured attributes. They're actually like weights. I think the way I think about it is like weights. So we put this mesh that has all that mesh data and the bone capture data, and we feed it into the bone capture harmonic. In the last live stream, what I did was feed this skin geometry over here, and I threw this one over here to get the whole thing running. This week we're going to do something different because we're doing it with the FEM simulation. I want to keep this tent mesh. I actually want to rig the tent mesh. So I'm going to actually throw it like this. We're going to what this does, it takes this tent mesh and it says, give me, start rigging this tent mesh, which is different from this one, as I shown you with the clip. So they're two different geometries. They look the same. So this is hollow, and this tent mesh is over here. It's a solid. So I want to rig this solid tent mesh, and I want to move this guy. And it'll become apparent when I show you, when we start building the FEM simulation. So I'm going to, so we're not going to, this is just for reference. The clip is only for reference. So it's important to note that this is different from what I showed how to, the difference between rigging this one compared to the one from last week. Okay, this becomes the, Alright, now it's time for the bone deform. The fun stuff. Geometry deform. We want to deform this one. This is always the one with the bone capture data. The mesh with the bone capture data always goes into the first input. Then we want the skeleton. So our skeleton's over here. So let's go like this and feed it into here. So that's our rest point of the skeleton. I know this is named rest geometry. Let me rename this. Let's name it something else. Tet geometry. So this is like the rest position of this skeleton. Then we're gonna use a rig pose and we're gonna animate it. So let's do this, rig pose. And we're going to feed it in here. This is deforming it. So what this node will do, it will take all this information and it will make our mesh move. And this is where we want to animate it, in the rig pose. We're going to take this here and I'm going to move. Ooh. So you can animate it like this. So, okay, let's do this. Let's just do something super simple just to show you what I mean. Here, so. Just give me 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay, let me just check the chat just for 1 more second. Let's see. Oh, I missed a lot. Let's see. Portability, Taking my skills from environment artist to a tech artist, and I've fallen in love with Houdini. Yes, Houdini is lovable. You can do almost anything with Houdini. So, where is it? I actually don't have donations. You can join my membership program. Next to point. Oh, the Houdini drive, the stream. I use a different program. You can use a program called Animate as a trial. I mean, I don't use it anymore. I used to use Animate. Last week I was actually using Animate. But I have since gotten another Kinex to set up a dual Kinex. Because cleaning up the animations was driving me nuts. So I got another Kinex in order to enhance the quality of my animations. But as a starter, this Animate has a very nice trial version, and it's completely free, the trial version. So you can use that as a starter and try it out. It will send it to Blender, and then you can follow like the Raymond's. If you do like a YouTube search and you go like Remington, and you search Animate, it'll come up. He has like step by step on how you can set it up, and then how you can export the mocap and bring it into Houdini. Watch the last stream. Yes, watch the last stream too. that is more thorough. I can't go over too much of it because that'll overlap some of the topics. Make some mocap from. Yes, it is very, very fun. Wait until we get into next week when I do crowds. Sure, post done. I will be able to control a sphere with an iPhone and. Oh, cool. Yes, the iPhone has a gyroscope too and accelerometers. I guess you could, with a bit of clever app tweaking. I think you can. Should share the link. Import your mocap directly. You may not be able to import it directly. You'll have to export it out into a BVH, or a FBX. You have to get into that format somehow. I use Blender to do that conversion and clean up, and it's going to be noisy. Well, for my Kinex, if you're using Kinex, like a single Kinex or two Kinexes, it's still going to be noisy. You're going to have to clean it up a bit. So I use Blender to clean it up. Yeah. Okay, back to this. So now we can animate this. Oops. Let me just revert these. Get up there. Okay, there we go. There you go. Just to show you that it's animated. Now this, I'm going to just throw in the animation that I had prepared ahead of time. So I'm not going to do this so you don't see me doing this boring stuff. Okay, look at this. Whee! Out animation. Oops. Okay, there we go. So now we have an animation that is fully rigged. Pretty quick. Now we can start. Now I have this thing here. Sorry, that was a little early. I shouldn't have put it here yet. Now let's turn this into a FEM. Okay. First of all, let me color this blue. All right. Now I'm gonna have a dopnet. Okay, let's zoom in. All right, now we need a FEM object. FEM, what you want is a FEM solid object. The hybrid object does something funny. I haven't actually tried that out. It's a hybrid of like I think a soft and a hard material or something. I don't know. It's a hybrid of two different materials mixed up together. I haven't actually tried it out. So let's stick with the FEM solid object, the basic one. Yeah, I'm just gonna hook this up. Now, since we're creating a FEM simulation, we're gonna need the respective FEM solver. Okay. Now it's throwing an error. Don't worry. We're gonna fix this. Now, first thing, I don't want. Now, we're gonna have to bring in the geometry. Just gonna mouse skin. Maybe I should bring this up a bit. Okay. So let's label this a bit better. So this is gonna be the one. Okay, let's do it this way. Sorry, I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. We want to take this geometry. This is the simple geometry. This is the hollow geometry. And we want to take this and turn it into a FEM because this has nice topology. It's very basic. And we want to drive the FEM simulation with this animation. That's this mouth opening animation. And this is not moving. So we're going to stick this guy. I'm going to call this something else. I'm going to call it, let me zoom in. I'm going to call this the skin. I'm going to take this and I'm going to throw it in here. Okay. Okay, and then okay, why is this still okay? That's triangles. Oh, sorry, I missed a step. Sorry, now we need this actually. You know what? I'm just gonna we need a tet mesh in order to. This is a hollow geometry. The FEM simulation doesn't really read this. I know I said that we want to keep this nice topology geometry. So this is actually going to be the proxy. This is what we want to render, but this is not the geometry. This hollow geometry is not what the FEM simulation reads. It doesn't understand this. It understands this tet mesh. This one, that is a solid geometry. So what we need to do is hook this over here. My apologies. Or, you know what? I'll hook it up here. Makes more sense. Okay. Then that will feed into the FEM simulation. So it was complaining before it had those two errors. It was complaining that I don't understand what you're trying to do because it wasn't even a FEM object. So now it's a FEM object. Let's just run it just to see if we have any more errors. It's not going to do anything. But it's a good idea to sort of like do a sanity check. So it's not doing anything. Now we're going to drive this FEM simulation using this target deformation. So that's basically feeding in the animation. So that's this guy. So I'm going to feed him in. And what you need to know about this is that the target strength has to be set super high. It has to be something insanely large. Let's see, what was the value that I used before? Right now, it's not too bad. It's just 900. Let's just go over it. So right now, it's not too bad. Later on, this is going to be like super, super high. Now you can see how slow it is. This is moving super, super slow. That's because this topology is really, really heavy. Now I want to help this a little bit. So I'm going to stop this. I'm going to go back. I know I labeled proxy, but let me come over here. Let's bring all this over here. Oops. Bring this all here. So I did a remesh. I did a subdivide. Now there's a reason why I did the remesh, subdivide, and then remesh it again. It's because I wanted to get this little edge here, this little lip, to look like that. But I'll do that a little later. I just really wanted to show you something else first. So step by step. So let's remesh it. This is way low poly. This is lower poly than it was previously. So let's just take a look. This is 11,517 points. This one over here is a reduced amount of 437 points. So let's see how this plays out if we feed this in in here, because we need to turn into a tent mesh. So that's very important. Turn this low poly version into a tent mesh. So we have to feed it into the tent conform. Let's move this away so it's a little less complicated, hopefully. So we're taking this tent mesh right here, and then that's a null, and then this is outing the skin. There's a reason why I have all these nulls, because we're going to take this FEM simulation and we're going to up it and push and make a bone and an embedded FEM layer later on. So that's why I have all these nulls here. So let's take this. Okay, so now we have it. Actually, we don't have to update anything. We can just run the simulation, because the simulation is hooked up to this skin node. So it should just work, yeah. Okay, let's just do it. Look how much faster this is. But as you can see, the animation is losing. It's not as great. It's no longer actually. It's not even opening the mouth anymore, is what I'm trying to say. There's a couple ways you can fix this. One, you can up the strength. Or what I was trying to do here, I think I was subdividing it, doing this, feeding it in. No, sorry, keep doing that. You know what? I'll just turn up the strength, the target strength, so you can see what it looks like. You know, that's probably better. 2, 3. Let's try that. There you go. It's getting better. So this, and I just want you to look at what the difference is. Okay, we're getting some, because it was doing something weird. Like this. It wasn't really like this. It was a little slanted. So I suspect something something went wrong here. Let me see. Here. Let's do this, and let's do this. Okay. It's completely out of whack. Okay. Linear 22. Let me turn up the iterations here. I'm going to turn it up to 22 because that's what I have in my notes. Okay, there you go. So it needed more data. This bone capture wasn't capturing it enough, so you can turn, what you can do is turn up this is, I think, the way I think about this is sort of like sub-steps. If you increase the sub-steps, it'll increase the accuracy of the simulation. If you increase the iterations in the KineFX rig, it will increase the accuracy of the rig. That's the way I think about it. Just gonna check the chat. Yes, there is. 3 weeks ago. I don't remember actually. I did so many videos. I think I improved. Oh, I remember now. I remember the Substance Painter one. This is the one, the Substance Painter. I think that's the one you're talking about. How to convert a Heightfield and bring it into create the UDIMs in Houdini and bring it into Substance Painter to texture the height, to texture the terrain. Yes, I'll put a link in the description to that video. But I think it's for, no, that was a free video. Yeah, that was a free video. Oh, huge animation pattern. Learn. Yes, definitely good. Terrain is awesome fun, especially when we get to like Unreal Engine. We can like slap the terrain in Unreal Engine and you can just run around like crazy. This was deactivate social. Awesome. We can. Thank you. Cool. Okay. If you have any questions, just shoot them in the chat. So now we have a really, really simple FEM simulation. It's not doing anything. It's not doing much other than opening the mouth. Let's give it something to crunch on. I'm just gonna bring this over from the other side. Here. So this is just the geometry. Oops. This one. We want this one. Where are you? Oh, where is it? Let me... Here it is. Oh, I have to relink this, sorry. Which one is this? The head. The animation. Go here, go here. Skin. Okay, size, okay. Here we go. So all it's doing over here, so let me make that, hide that one. All I did was throw in the test geometry and animated it. So this is, oops, animated it. So there's keyframes here. There's actually just 2 keyframes. All it's doing is moving back and forth. Oh, it's moving back, sorry. And what I'm aiming, okay, so he's gonna crunch on this. So we're gonna do some collisions. This will illustrate what the FEM is doing, what the FEM, because other than that, this is not making much use of the FEM simulation. So we're gonna give it some collisions. Just looking at my notes. Merge it with this. So the way that you set up collisions in FEM is almost the exact same way you do it with RBD destruction. You need a static geometry, a static object. So you just throw this guy down. Actually, okay, let me just do that from scratch. It'll take 2 seconds. So I like to do this left to right. Use deforming geometry and swap path. So we need the saw path. Let's go back and get it. Here. Copy that. Come here, go in here. Saw path. Alright. Now let's play it. Just crunching on it. Now he's not colliding with it very well. Now I don't know about these fins. Maybe he's going too far back. Let me make one small adjustment. Okay, this one. Okay, crunch this. Okay. So I just moved him a little bit forward so he doesn't crunch on the fins, because I feel like the fins will take a lot of computing time. Crunch on the butt. Now it's not colliding. It's not detecting the collision. So in order to increase the accuracy of that, I'm going to feed in the proxy geometry. They call it a proxy volume. So let's go back up here, and some of you may have noticed that I took this rubber toy and I converted it into a VDB. This gives us more accuracy for the FEM simulation. This has more data as to where the rubber toy is occupying in space. So let's just copy this VDB. We're going to come here, and proxy volume here. So that's the static object here. Scroll down. Proxy volume here. That's this guy. Now, I'm going to set this to by size. And I'm going to set it to 0.1 for more accuracy. And set this to volume collisions. Let's give this a try. Okay, so we're starting to see some collision. You can see that it's not crunching down as far. You know what? Let me exaggerate this a bit more with the rig. So this, I'm going to turn this rig, take this, come here, and I'm going to make it go down a little further. Okay, that's not going to work. Let me move it lower. Okay, wait. I need to do this on the side. Right hand side. Here we go. Little lower. So we can exaggerate it a little bit. Okay. Let's see what this does. Let's go back. Oh wait, let me keyframe it. Okay. Hey. I lost it. Okay. Oh, was it this one? Wrong point. 0.7. Oh, it is 0.7. Okay. Let's go here. Let's go in here and reset this. Oh, there you go. Now we can really see the collision effect. It has turned this completely different now. I'm just checking the chat. FEM and now Vellum. Oh, why FEM and now Vellum? Wait, what? This isn't vellum. You guys right now request. Probably. I made FEM tutorial request. Yeah, there was. I take request, and Jojo was the only person that requested something. Oh, but I really like this. Like, I'm gonna take this and turn it up a notch. Turn this scene up a notch. Sure, we can do something about that. But first I want to go over crowds next week, so save a slot for crowds. All right. Now I'm actually not gonna use this test geometry for him to bite on, because I'm gonna place this plant head on a stem. So the stem is actually animated and actually is moving around, so he can't really bite on this. It's a little harder to animate the rubber toy taking a bite out of him. So we're actually not going to use this rubber toy. It's just here to illustrate the basic FEM, the very basic setup for FEM. So I'm going to make a second version of this. Part 2. All right. We're not actually going to use this. Now, let's put an embedded FEM layer in here. That's what I really wanted to do. And sorry, let me reset that because the rubber toy wasn't going away. It's still here. Oh, it's probably this. Oh well, we don't need this anymore. All right. Now, we're gonna take this guy. Let me change it back. And we're gonna create a smaller version of him. And I'm gonna give him sort of like, it's gonna be his bone structure that's gonna make him move. And that's where I want to bring in all this stuff. This stuff, bring it back over here. There we are. Here it is. It's not much difference. All this was, these 3 nodes were doing was just giving him that little lip, that shape of the lip here that I really wanted. So I'm just like subdividing to smooth that out, and then remeshing it again, just because this subdivision isn't the greatest topology, or it's not the topology that I want. Now, if I want to embed a bone within this guy, I want to make him a little smaller. So what I'm going to do here is move this, delete that, move this over a bit, because I need a bit of space. And I'm going to remesh him over again. I'm going to bring this up a bit. Just need a bit of real estate. Now, we take this, we're going to feed it into the remesh. So we have this really, really low poly version of it. And I'm going to make him smaller. So this is the original size. This one is going to be the bone structure. We can actually label this down here. And I'm going to feed this bone into the tent mesh. So we're going to have a tent mesh here. This guy. Now, because this bone version is a lot smaller, I'm going to have the skeleton smaller as well. So you can actually resize the skeleton. Ooh, something crashed. Oh, that did not happen. Why? Okay, I saved, so no worries. I'm just gonna see what people are saying right here. Go ahead and blame. I do have a few for Vellum, but Vellum is very fast and is very interesting. We'll see. We'll see. Sorry, just give me 1 second. Just gonna cook for a second. Okay, take this away, come over here. Okay, so I lost all the changes. So I'm just gonna bring this back again. Delete the proxy geometry. Bring it up. Okay. I'm gonna make him a little smaller. The skeleton needs to be smaller. This is gonna be smaller. So this will be the bone of this. So it's a lot smaller. We're going to take this bone and we're going to make it into a tent mesh. And I'm going to, sorry, the size of this is in the wrong place. We're going to rig the bone. And what the bone is going to do is that it's going to move the skin. So what we had before was the skin moving. So the FEM animation was driven by the skin animation, by the animation. Put it this way. This animation was driving the skin geometry. We're going to change this and use embedded FEM layers. This bone geometry will be the embedded FEM layer, and the bone will have this animation. Let me just show it to you. So it's going to be the same animation. It's still going to move the same way. This animation is going to drive the skin. It's going to drive this skin. And the results would be a lot wrinkly. You'll get a lot of wrinkles. So we just need to... Now, if we just run it like this, it's not going to do anything. Sorry. For example, let's take this out. We don't need the rubber toy anymore. This FEM object. So this was based on the skin. I'm going to call it outside. We no longer have a target deformation. We're no longer targeting the animation to this outside skin. So this is based on the mouse skin. We're no longer doing that. So let's uncheck that. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put down a merge. Put that here. It's gonna be the inside. So this would be the bone. So let's come over here. Let's take this bone. Yeah. We need this. The tent mesh. And that goes in here. So that's this guy. Because this bone was turned into a tent mesh over here and then fed into the KineFX rig. And out comes the animation. So we're going to take this animation and we're going to deform the bone. Okay. Oh, I don't know if you can see it. It might be overlapping. Here. Oh, because I still have this hooked. Sorry, I have to relink this. So this is no longer our skin. It was still hooked up to this. We need to hook up this one, which is the larger one. This is the larger one that we have here. We need to hook that up to the most skin. This is what is plugged into the FEM object here. Now, it's complaining. It's still complaining, though. It's giving us a warning. That's because if we come here, this FEM mouth skin is not a FEM object. So all I was doing is just like remeshing, subdividing, remeshing, UV unwrapping. This is not turning it into a FEM. So we need another, what's it called? Tet mesh. We need to convert this into a tet mesh. Now this time I'm not going to plug anything into the second input because it's not being rigged. This bone is going to stick onto the skin, just like bone and muscle. It's going to bind together. Now if we run this as is, it's not going to do what I want. Oh, wait. Target. This is going to be set to something super high. I'm going to make this like super high. So I just pasted in a target strength here. I hope you saw that. First, at the beginning, the inside bone. Oh, I should just color this. I'm so sorry. Okay, let me just go over this first. I hope you can see there's a geometry inside, and that's this one inside, and outside is the skin. So the inside geometry is moving, the outside is not. See this target deformation? It is unchecked. So what it's doing right now, the inside geometry is pushing it. No, that's not helping, but it's pushing it open, and when it closes, so if we come here, when it closes, you'll see that the inside geometry snaps down. There you go. See, it's not, because it's not binded to the skin right now. We need to glue the geometry together so that when it moves, both of them will move together. And we do that by creating some attributes. Attribute create. You know what? I'm just going to copy this over. What this is just an attribute create node. I am doing, okay, you know what? I will do it from scratch. Attribute create. Let's just put that down. And we need to tell it which points to be glued onto the bone. So what we're going to do here is I want to isolate the inside. I want to isolate the inside points of this geometry and tell it to bind, give it an ID. And I want to bind those points to this geometry, the bone geometry, the outside of this. So by doing that, we need to assign a fuse ID to all the inside points of here. But actually, right now, I'm just going to create an attribute here, fuse PID. It'll be point. It will be an integer. And I'm going to use, now every single point has to have a unique point, a unique fuse ID value. If you want it to pair up, if you want it to bind 1-to-1. So default value is -1 because I don't want it to have anything valuable. The value we're going to use, now I don't want to assign this 1 by 1, and I want to do it procedurally. So I'm going to use Houdini expression, $PT, and what this does is take the point number of each point and assign it to the fuse PID attribute value. So if we look into the geometry spreadsheet here, we have a fuse PID. They're all unique because let's see, fuse PID. They are unique because the point numbers are unique. I'm just borrowing the point numbers and reusing that for a different purpose. And I'm sticking it into the fuse PID. Now, how do we get this fuse PID to come over to our bone geometry? Because we're trying to glue it together. So I just used an attribute transfer. So I'm going to transfer. This is what we're going to transfer to. So this is our geometry to transfer attributes to. And we're going to transfer what? We're going to transfer this PID, this fuse PID information. And we want to limit it though. We don't want to transfer it everywhere. Because if we transfer it everywhere, it's going to stick it to the insides of here as well. So let me just show you here. Template this. No. Now it's going to stick if we transfer it everywhere, like the entire geometry. It's going to, every single point of our inside bone geometry is going to pair up with something to the outside. So it's going to just like chaos. It's going to be chaos. Every single point will snap to something else. That's not what we want. We just want it to snap to the outside layer of the bone. So if we go here, just going to use a group. We're just going to experiment a little bit. And if we come over here to the group, let's take this, and we actually have a skin group. So that's giving us the outside layer of our bone geometry. This is perfect. We want every single point that is orange in here to snap to the closest point in here. So let's do that. Fuse PID, destination group. We only want the skin. And so the easiest way to do this is to plug it into here, put the render flag onto the group so you can actually see. Oh, sorry, not this one. Create a group. And what we're going to do is I want to see every single point that has a fuse PID greater than 0. So right now we're getting everything, the outside and inside, as you can see, like these inside. That's what we want to avoid. So we can adjust this attribute transfer and make it a lot smaller. I believe I used 3.8. Okay, there you go. See, as long as this distance is small enough, it won't get the inside points. So you can see these ones are not getting the fuse PID values. So this is perfect. Okay, let me just check the chat for 1 second. Oh, nice animation. I think I'm not having it. Trying to simulate. Okay. Fem inside. So this would be the inside version of it. This is our inside geometry. Now let's feed that into the dopnet, the inside geometry here, and it's powered by this animation. Let's give it a try. Oh, it's not snapping. Oh, that's because, sorry. So it does work. The problem is it's not snapping. The whole point of putting the fuse PID is to make it stick together. So, which is done by a Fem Fuse Constraint. What this will do, it will cause these two, the fuse PIDs that have the geometry in the outside of the inside, and it'll stick the ones with the same fuse PID values. So what do we want to stick? It's asking us for the object name, and that's the outside to the inside. And what point group? Well, we want the fuse PID. Okay. Let's take a look. Ooh, that's not good. Sticking. Oh, sorry. Here. And also you want to do identifier point attribute. There we go. And I want a soft constraint. Let's give this a try. It's not sticking. Oh, you know what? Attribute transfer points here. Create here. Let me just do a double check here. So I'm just gonna see if I'm actually creating the right PID information. Okay. Now I'm only wanting to. Right now I'm creating a fuse PID for every single one of these. I only want the skin. I just want the skin. The skin of the outside. Sorry, not the skin. The inside of this. This doesn't matter. Here. I just want this inside. These inside points to stick to these outside points. So I'm going to use this group. And what this is doing is that it's saying everything but the skin, which gives us this. If I take this out, it gives us everything on the outside. So this will do like the inverse. And it will be based on primitives. Okay. Let me double check the attribute. If we're limiting this, this is limited to the skin. Let's give this a try. It's not snapping. Fuse PID. Inside. Just give me 1 second. I'm just gonna. Things suck when things don't go right. Inside, outside, Fem constraint, inside, outside, constraint. Oh, the strength. Let me turn up the strength. I don't know. That. Okay, it does. So you can see it snaps a little bit. Sorry. The strength of the constraint, this Fem constraint that makes it the stickiness constraint, was not high enough. It was defaulted to 100. And then I turned it up to like 5 million. And I hope you can see that it's snapping. So it's snapping together. It's actually binded together now. It's sticking together. So this will become more apparent when it closes the mouth. There you go. It closes together. So before, when we didn't have this, let me turn this off. And before, the bone was just pushing the skin. So here, it's not actually pulling it down anymore. It's not pulling the lip down. But with this Fem Fuse Constraint, which I call it the sticky constraint, it pulls it down. So it's actually binded. This is like bone and muscle. So when you move your fingers, the fingers or bones are moving the skin of your fingers. Cool. All right. How are we doing on time? Whoa. Okay. Let me just go back. Oops. Here. Close this. So I hope this is not as confusing. There is a few things I need to note. This here, there's something that you really need to know is that this geometry, this target deformation geometry, and this initial state. So this is the inside bone that is moving the entire mouth. These two geometries have to be from the same geometry. So let's come over here. Let's come up here. So those two geometries that I was pointing out are this one. This is I'll make it in red so it's easier to see. And this one. So these two geometries are the ones being fed into the inside FEM object. They are actually the same geometry. This is the rigged, okay, let me open this up. This is probably a better way of demonstrating this. So this is the animation. Let's come over here. And this is the bone geometry. Now this is 458 points. This one here has 458 points. These are both the same geometry. Yes, this one is actually moving. So this is actually moving. This is moving. This one is not. This is stationary. This is fixed. But it is the same geometry. This one is displacing it. It is making, like, it's moving the points. It is not creating any new points. It's the same old points with the same old primitives. Just the rig is making it move. Now that's important. That's important because if we come over here, that's important because this target geometry needs you to deform the original state of the inside geometry. If this target deform geometry is some completely different geometry, it's not going to understand it correctly. It's not going to do what you expect it to do. It's not going to do this. So that's something you need to know when you're dealing with, like, when you're using the target deformation in FEM. Okay. The next thing I want you to show you is that here. Now let's drop down a dot import so we can extract all the data from the simulation. Now, I'm interested in the skin right now, so I want the outside. Oops. If I can spell it correctly. Outside. Fetch it. Here. Okay. So this is giving me the outside. It's giving me this guy here. As I have mentioned, I'm going to take this clip and I'm going to just copy it over. This is a solid, so it's actually solid here. Now if we take this clip and let's move it up here. This is a hollow geometry. Now I'm going to move it down here a little lower where I have the UV unwrapped. Put it down here. It's still a hollow geometry. Now I want to render this version, let's do something here. If I put a quick shade down here, now you're going to see a texture attached to this. If we come down here to this version, the texture is gone. We have lost the UVs. It's gone. But if we come up here, the UVs are here. That's because we've turned it into a tent mesh, and the tent mesh does not retain the UVs, and it doesn't retain all that the UVs or texture information at all. However, we can still get this back. So we're gonna take this geometry, and we're gonna you know what? I'm just gonna name this something else. So this is going to be my proxy geometry. Oh, not proxy geometry. So this is the embedded geometry. This is the geometry I want to render out. So we're going to come here into the FEM, come here, and come to the outside. So that was the skin. So this is the outside. Deformation, and there's an embedded geometry here, so we can feed it in here. And what this does, it deforms. This is more like your high quality geometry, as opposed to the skin, which I had fed into the simulation as a low poly geometry in order to improve the performance. So this can be a high poly geometry. This is just to speed up your workflow. Now, under the embedded geometry, so how do we actually get it in using the dop import? If you come here, it's still using the low poly one, and we can tell by adding a clip here, because this is a solid. This is the UV one. This is a hollow geometry, and it also has the texture, the UV square textures attached to it as well. So we come here and we can type geometry data path. We can actually retrieve that embedded geometry. There you go. See, it comes up nice and shiny. Now, realistically, you would use this embedded geometry because you would have like a high quality version here, because this is not the one that's going to be like fed into the simulation. Oops, like you could do something here, subdivide it here to create a high quality, a high poly version. So you can see all these little, there's more polygons. This one has 9,986 points. And when we come here, we still retain that high poly version. And look how fast it cooks. So if you remember correctly, when at the beginning of this, like an hour ago, when I did this, when I was setting up this FEM simulation, that it was really slow. When I fed in the high version, it was cooking really slow. But once I did a remesh and made a low poly version and fed it into the FEM simulation, it was significantly faster. So that's how you use this embedded geometry. Now this is a bit messy. Don't worry, I'll clean this up before I release it for the Perk 1 bubblepins members. This is super messy. Now, you don't actually have to do it. Sorry. I was moving on to a different topic. Sorry, this here. Feed this out, skin. Now, this only gives us the skin. We want the bone as well. You may want to render the bone as well. So let's come over here. Remember, this was only getting the outside. So let's copy this dop import and retrieve the inside one. Now the inside, I didn't have an embedded geometry, so I have to get rid of this. So there's your outside, inside. Put it in here, shove it in here. There you go. You can merge it in. There you go. So there's the mouth moving. And I'm just going to check the chat for a second. It's long, slow, approximate. Sorry, but bye. Sorry. I am long-winded. My explanations are really long-winded. Let's go up. So I'm gonna use the stem. I'm gonna do the stem now. I'm just gonna copy the stem geometry over. Let's make this blue. And we're just gonna focus on this guy. This is just a tube. A tube with some UV projection. So later on, if you wanted to put some textures on it, you can. So there's nothing to it. And we're going to use this and set up. We're going to animate the stem. Now let's bring in the stem geometry. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to bring it into this context. Now I have set up a very, very simple skeleton for this stem. It's literally just a line, but I'm just going to copy the skeleton over so you can see what I've done. So this is the skeleton right here. I have named it, but I'm only named the root, so I know that this one is the root. That's this bottom one. I'm going to throw in the bone capture lines just as we done before. So this is a very simple rig, and I'm going to rig this stem onto a motion capture animation. And I'm going to show you how you can like rig stuff that are not in here. I'll just show it to you. Oh, sorry, this was called. I'm just gonna call this base geometry. Take this, temp mesh, bone, capture harmonic. So this is the same thing. Now this is an actual retargeting animation. So we do need to use the base geometry and feed it into the first input. And this one, the temp mesh, goes into the second input of the bone capture harmonic, as opposed to what I was doing for the plant head. I was doing like this. It won't work in this case. That was only because that was a FEM simulation. This one, I actually want the base geometry. Stem geo. So that's our stem geometry. Now I'm gonna bring in some mocap data that I did with my Kinects, and some of you may recognize the mocap data. It's just me waving my hand around. So this is what I captured. It's just me waving my hand around. So we're gonna remap this hand waving motion and make the stem move like this. Now, all I added was a loop and a shift. So I only want frames, the animation starting frame 20. So the beginning stuff, it wasn't really moving that much. I wanted to start retargeting it at frame 20. So I'm skipping the first 20 frames and I want it to loop. The looping doesn't really matter in this case because the hand waving was so long and I only have like 200 frames, 240 frames. So all I did here was a small little Houdini expression, just like shift it over by 20. I didn't even do the modulus, so it's not even looping actually because the animation's so long. Slowing it down. Now I did want to slow it down because it was flickering too much. The hand waving makes sense, but if you're retargeting it to the stem, it was going on the flirts. But I'll show you what it looks like without slowing it down. And just like last stream, I showed you when you're retargeting animation, you need a corresponding T pose. So this T pose is just well, it's a really awkward T pose. Root T pose. There you go. There's my T pose. Now let's bind it to our stem. That's this cylinder here. So this part will look very familiar to all those that have seen the last stream. Targeting. I'm just gonna briefly go over this. Not very quickly. Rake stash pose. Oops. Okay, here, rake stash pose. Okay, then we're gonna add a rake match pose. So how would you match this? Because the stem is no longer a character, is no longer like a person standing. So matching this will be a little different from retargeting a human to another human. Now where is our stick? Enable source. Target. Oh, sorry. This goes to the skeleton. There you go. So retargeting, we have to match the pose between the skeleton, that's the rig for the stem geometry, onto the hand waving animation. Rig match pose. So you can just leave it as like standing up, or you can actually just turn it so it matches the arm. So it matches the arm this way. You can just leave it like this, and we'll see how it looks like after we complete the rig, and we can always adjust this, like come back to this node and just adjust it. Now I did have this in the wrong spot too. It should be the target, the rig. We don't want, this is the T pose. So if we come here, I want to show you what I was doing. This is the wrong one. This is the T pose. This one here is the actual hand waving. So we want to match the pose between the hand waving and the skeleton of our stem. So this goes down here. Now let's do map points. So this is where the interesting, the more important one is. How do we match the points? Because we no longer have matching points, or we don't even have matching parts. The only one that you have to really get right is the root. You have to match the root. The root has to align with the root. So that's why I had to name the root of our stem. That's the only point that has a name. The other ones are just point 1, point 2. This one is the rig, so which is the root of the hand waving animation. So this has to match with that. Next, I'm gonna match these points to the hand. Oh, sorry, I missed one. Okay, let's do the roots. I'm gonna match this to the shoulder, the right shoulder, and match this here, match this here, and here. Okay. Okay, let's see how this looks like. Let's throw down full body IK. Okay, it's a little messy right here, so let's just throw down a null so it's easier to look at. So it is a little wacky. Now, if we come to the here, what we want to do is pin the root so it doesn't move all over the place. Oh, right. Okay, so there we go. Now we're gonna use a bone deform. I'm just gonna put this here. This is only used for reference. Bone deform, we're deforming the stem geometry. That's this tube thing down here. The rest point. Now the rest position would be the skeleton. That's what we have as a resting initial state. And then the deformation would be whatever we have targeted to the rig, which is the full body IK. As a result, we're going to get the stem wiggling. Okay. Just going to put this. Then we have the stem animation. Now, we need to throw, place the head on top of the stem. And it needs to follow it. Let me just check the chat just for a second. Please carry on. I'm going on. We're almost done. This is a lot. I don't think I'm going to make it onto ragdolls. Way over time. Okay. Let's go over here. This was a long scene. This was a lot more complex scene than I thought it was. So this will be the plant, eater, head, and stem. I don't know. So, first thing is, let's do the merge geometry. Let's bring in all the geometry. Oh, I don't know why that was blue. Let's bring this in. I'm just gonna put it out here. So there's our plant eater. Bring in the another one, which we want the stem. Put the stem here, so then merge this together. Double check that. Yeah, there's the stem. Merge it together. Okay, the sizes are different. So let me name this first. This goes here. Let me put this over here. Plant head over here. Okay, so I did the transformation. Like I moved it in place and did a bit of subdividing and all that jazz. So I'm going to just copy that over. Because that's something you can do, like take your time and do. So the head's over here. So I subdivided the stem so it has more topology to work with. And what we're going to do is we need to place this head to the tip of this guy. You know what? I can do this manually. Let me show it to you. Take this, and I just want this point here, and just press delete. It'll put it in a blast, and I want to isolate this. So this is the point that I want. So I know that's where I want to place this head onto. Oops. Position for a head. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is copy point. We're going to copy this plant head, and we're going to use this position. There we go. So let's play this. So it does follow it wherever it goes. It's just looking in the wrong direction right now. What we can do is just put down a transform down here, and we can turn his head around. Not this. There we go. We can adjust it a little bit. There we go. There you go. So he's actually following the stem. Now, there's one more thing. If I do a merge here, oh, not this, sorry. Merging, we want to merge this. This is just the reference point. So we want to merge this guy, the stem. Let's start on a normal. Here. So I hope you can see this is sticking right out of his tongue, which is unsightly. So let's throw down a Boolean and knock that out and subtract it out. Now this part is a bit complicated because I had to use a bit of vex in order to bulge it in the middle. So let me show you what I mean. First, I placed a bunch of normals in the middle. Oh, okay. So if we look inside, the inside one is what we want. All the normals are facing or pointing inward. So that was the purpose of doing this, and we want it to the point. Next, I'm gonna do make everything black because I want to reset the color. I want to reset the color value. So if we come over here, CD here, all the colors are reset to 0, 0, 0, and this will come in handy. Next, I'm gonna do not this one. Let's just do this here. Attribute paint. You can actually do an attribute, a group paint, but the group paint wasn't. I couldn't figure out how to paint only the inside. So if I go like this into a group paint, and I paint this. I look over here. Oh, it's actually doing it. Oh, because the bone is here. It's painting the bone. Oh, that's actually gonna work. Sorry. New discovery. Sorry. So what I'm gonna do here, I only want this area. Oh, what? Okay, what? Group paint. Isn't this black? Why is it? Houdini, what are you doing to me? This is black, right? Okay. I am not sure why it's doing that. Okay, that's more like it. So the group paint here. Let's enter it. Let's go down here and let's paint this area. The inside, the tongue. I just want to identify that area. Ah. Okay. All right. And you can do a number of things. You can actually just transform it out. The group paint. Let's call this tongue. Okay, I hope you can see that. It's actually moving this up. If you see the inside, it's actually moved it up. So we actually don't need this black one here, sorry. There. Moved it up. It doesn't have to be exact. I just want some geometry in there. So when I can, this will allow me to do a Boolean subtract. And then we can get rid of this ugly stem sticking out of nowhere. Now, I'm going to do VDB from polygon. So I'm going to, this is quite a lot of polygons, which I don't want. And I want to just merge it into one big thing, into one huge mesh. It doesn't have to be pretty because all we're doing is a simple subtract. So there's a trick here. We can convert it into a VDB. We can convert, see, this is a ball of mesh. That's exactly what I want. And then what we can do here is VDB convert. We'll convert it back into a polygon. Oh, sorry, polygon. There you go. That's all I really need. Low poly. Now we're gonna do a Boolean. Finally put down a Boolean. We're gonna Boolean the stem. This stem. So that's this guy. And I'm gonna put it in here. So these two are gonna go down. Not this. Put it here, Boolean that. So we've trimmed down the stem. So let's take this. Okay, let me name it. And I'm going to stick it into the merge and let's see what it looks like. So we no longer have that thing sticking out. And it's trimmed down pretty well here. So let's take a look. Okay, let's take a look here. It is a little bit. Some of the frames, let's see. Oh, the VDB. The VDB is gone. As the movement changes, we don't have enough polygons to make it into a VDB. So let's try increasing the VDB, the voxels. And I'm also gonna increase, move this up a bit so we have more tongue. Let's try this. Nope, wrong spot. Let's pull it up. Okay, and then I want to pull it over a bit. Okay, and maybe if I paint more. Just paint a little bit more. Okay, now let's give it a try. Trim down. Let's take a look at the normals. Awesome. So that's a lot better now. There we go. Okay. So what we can do here is I'm just gonna... So this is out for render. Now I don't think I'm gonna go over the pot. The pot is super simple. It's just it has to be moved in the right spot though. So what we can do here, down here. Now I'm gonna remove the color. There we go. So we removed that color. Take out the textures. There you go. It's a bit better. I don't know if you want me to go over the pot. The pot is really simple. It's just a tube. Okay. Tube. I grouped the top. This is sizing the top, so I'm just enlarging the top. Poly extrude, but I'm not extruding anything. I'm just insetting the top face. Then poly extrude, then I extrude that top face, push it down. Subdivide it to get this nice curve shape, and that's your basic shape. Now the bottom two are just grouping this, so I can throw on a material to just this group for the soil, and this would be just the pot. Then you have something completed. So these two would be the ones that you want to render. Now let me check the chat. The leftovers from the paint. Yeah, it's probably. Sorry, it took like an hour and a half to get this done. I thought this would be a lot quicker. My long-winded explanations. I don't know if is anyone still here? Did I lose anyone? I think we still have 5 people. Not sure. Because the YouTube analytics ain't that accurate. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have any questions. I might postpone the ragdolls to next week because yeah, it's already an hour and a half. Oh, cool. I can always count on you. So I'm never alone. So this way of doing it with FEM is awesome because of this part, the stickiness. The bone sticking onto, if you look at here, the first frame, if we didn't use FEM and we just simply used the rig, just the simple version rig on the outer skin, you would have this perfect circle here. If that's what you want, then yeah, that's cool. But if you wanted something like this wrinkliness, this wrinkly, like this blob, the lumpiness here goes up, down, as opposed to this one, it's nice and smooth. If you want this kind of effect, then it's really easy to get that using FEM, embedded FEM layers, and using that this guy, using this Fem Fusion Constraint, which I call the stickiness constraint. It's awesome doing that. What I can do, what I would do, let's see, let's subdivide this even further. Or you know what, the proper way of doing it is probably subdividing the geometry. Oh, we already have the subdivide. So let's increase the subdivide. Okay. Let's make them a little bit more detailed. You can really get the wrinkles showing here if you subdivide it high enough. I just hope it doesn't crash. Okay, see, it's more lumpy, more topology. The wrinkles are showing more here. Oh, it's getting really... if you start seeing this, if you're using the embedded geometry and you start to see this cracking effect, don't use the embedded geometry. Do it manually. Use a point deform. So we're going to point deform. Now, it's asking you what to point deform. We're going to point deform this one. This is our high quality geometry. So I'm going to call it the high quality one. But we want to simulate the low poly. So we want to keep the low poly. So it's asking for the rest position. Now, what we need to do is time shift this, because this is actually moving. So the rest positions are in the flux. That's not good for rest position. We need a solid fixed location for the rest position. So lock it to frame 1. Oh my god. Okay, there we... Oh my god. Okay. Oh my god. Click. What? Okay, control shift left. I don't know why it wasn't letting me drag there. Anyways, we've locked it to frame 1, so it doesn't matter what we do here, it's not gonna move. We're gonna plug this into the rest, and then what to deform, it will be the actual animation. So we do this, we can control it a bit better because now we can actually adjust the radius. So let's look at here, let's see if we still get the cracking, because yeah, let's see if we get the cracking. So yeah, the cracking's gone. I mean, if it's still doing something you don't like, you can always adjust this radius and adjust the minimum number of points to increase the accuracy or to find that sweet spot you want. I'm just going to check the chat. It's really going to implement a body to see wrinkles, elbows, and knees. Yeah, that would be nice. I have to fight my tutorial. I will be releasing this HIP file to the Perk 1 and Perk 2 members. So I believe your... so you can get it for reference, because I know you're a member. So you'll get this. So see if that will help. Cool, I'm glad you liked it. Do you have any more questions? I'm really sorry about the ragdolls. I never made it to the ragdolls. I really did want to go into ragdolls. Oh well. I gotta learn to talk faster. Cool. So I'm just gonna wait a while to see if anyone else has any more questions or anything. I'm just gonna end the stream because I'm super tired. Going once. Going twice. I know there's a small lag in the stream, so I don't know if anyone had any questions. Maybe I should do this. You can tell that I'm not very fancy with the streaming software. Just notepad everything. Yeah, there we go. I'm not very fancy with this. You're welcome. You're very, very welcome. Reach me in private? You can just email me. The email is on my channel. Let's see. A lot of people ask me that. The thing about YouTube is that nobody knows how to use the platform. Seriously, even me. I don't even know what it's doing. They make a great product, but they sure don't make it intuitive. So if you come here to the channel about, just scroll down. I have to update this. Don't read that. Just come down here. My contact's down here. So the Twitter, blog, email's right here. You just click this. So that's the about here. I'm glad you liked it. I do have very, very long explanations. I really thought this scene, this plant eating scene, was a lot easier, like a lot simpler. I thought it would be done in like half an hour. That shows what my estimates go, like throw that out the window. When I was doing it, it was like, oh, this is not too bad. But then, I don't know. I don't know what happened. That just went out the window. Sure, go ahead. No problem. I'll reply right when I get it. So I want to be busy the next few days editing the video and adding bookmarks, highlights, notes, releasing the hit files. There will be an update to this, the procedural asset, for in preparation for the next stream, which will be about crowd simulations. Oh, I'm really excited about that one. I know I keep saying it. I'm so sorry. These buildings, or these, I don't know, the pillars right here, it looks like pillars, are actually from the building asset that was building. Version 5 will have a collision geometry that you can get right out of the box that will fit really nicely into crowd source, into the crowd solver, so you can get that collisions going really easily. Cool. All right. I'm glad you liked it. I'm really glad you liked it. Okay, so I'm really thankful for everyone that came, and for all those that stuck to the end. You are awesome. And for all those that couldn't stick to the end, that's okay, because you can always watch the replay. Yeah, I'm just gonna end the stream right now because I'm super tired. If anyone still has any questions afterwards, you can put a comment below. I'll reply as quickly as I can. Yeah, if you want to email me, just go ahead. Cool. So I'll see you in the next stream.